Today is a very special day because it's a day that I review, discuss, talk about Boruto TBV Vortex Chapter 21, titled Mangekyo Sharingan. So for those who are new to the series or might not follow the previous chapter, Sarada Uchiha has awakened her Mangekyo Sharingan for the second time, I think. And while she's doing that, she is thinking about her past, why she has suppressed the power that she possessed for a few years. So the chapter opens up with a flashback back to part 1 Boruto, where Sarada is talking to Chocho about dreams and what she wants to be. Sarada at this time has set her dream and her goal to become the Hokage. Now, in the beginning of this chapter as well, we see that she is also thinking about her resolve to pursue this dream with Boruto Uzumaki. Boruto agrees that he will be her sidekick, her right-hand man to the Hokage, sort of how Sasuke is to Naruto. He will do everything to protect her and guide her towards her dream. Sarada is also thinking about one of her conversations that she had with Sumire back in part 1, where she is asking if Sarada feels comfortable of other girls possibly liking Boruto. This is something that's been going on through part 1. A lot of people, unlike his father Naruto, Boruto grew up sort of like a Sasuke, how a lot of girls saw him as a very attractive young man at this time, or young teen or young kid. Sarada is sort of, the beginning of this chapter really sort of reviews Sarada as a character in part 1, where in this particular case, this chapter has a lot of content that I already know. So a good chunk of this chapter is basically a review of Boruto part 1 and Sarada's perspective. So throughout this flashback, with her dream being the Hokage, she's also thinking about times where she was helpless to be able to help Boruto in situations where he needed help, and the power creep in these instances didn't really give her much room to help. When Kawaki cut his eye out, Boruto was saving her from Kawaki being hit. When the omnipotence happened and Ada used Kawaki's wish to switch everyone's mind and think that Boruto killed the Hokage, she was one of the only people who wasn't affected by this, so she was also felt very helpless, and she had felt so much love for Boruto that she was heartbroken at this point when this happened, where she was able to unlock her Mangekyo Sharingan in part 1 through her intense emotional response to this canon event, essentially, in the series. Now, in part 1, when Sarada Uchiha was able to awaken her Mangekyo Sharingan through this omnipotence happening due to Ada's charm and omnipotence ability, she was in the presence of her father, Sasuke Uchiha, who saw her awakening this Mangekyo Sharingan. And while she was awakening this sacred eye, she had fell into her father's arms and pleaded to her father that Boruto is not the killer. Everyone is duped, Everyone is looking at Boruto as some killer because Kawaki essentially swapped his life with Boruto Uzumaki's life, and Sasuke was able to see her awaken this Sharingan with her plea to help Boruto. Sasuke was affected by this omnipotence ability, so his mind was already altered, thinking that Boruto was Kawaki and Kawaki was Boruto. Now that he's able to see her daughter's feelings and her Mangekyo Sharingan awakening, gave Sasuke a basis to believe that Boruto is who her daughter says he is. So this prompted Sasuke to take Boruto to leave the village as a rogue shinobi once again. Now we go back to the present day, to the current timeline, where Sarada has awakened her Mangekyo Sharingan for the second time, and she is aura farming a lot in this chapter. She had awakened this Sharingan due to Yodo's death. The Sand Ninja, she was doing stupid stuff last chapter and previous chapters. But what Yodo was able to do while she was dying by Ryu's hand, was she was able to talk to Sarada and sort of goad her into going into her Mangekyo Sharingan form, because what Yodo has is sensory abilities of human emotion and how they feel, and she could sense that she was hiding some untapped power inside of her. So Sarada Uchiha has awakened her Mangekyo Sharingan. What does it do? So when she awakens this Mangekyo Sharingan in the fight with Ryu, which is evil Shinki, Tentail Shinki. Shinki is Gaara's adopted son, who has a Kekken Gekkai of magnet release, so he's able to use sand release, how Gaara was, but make it metal. So it's basically Gaara, but better. So Ryu noticed instantly this change of power because she has essentially sucked away all of Ryu's iron sand into this black or spherical black hole. We're gonna call it a black hole because her powers are kind of nutty. So this fight lingers on a bit longer. Ryu tries to lunge his iron sand at Sarada from under the ground, and that doesn't work because Sarada is able to divert this sand with her orbs. Ryu at this point is starting to worry a lot. He's looking shaked up. He's cooked. He's looking like he's about to be baked barbecue chicken right now. What essentially is going on in this portion of the fight is that Sarada has awakened her Mangekyo Sharingan ability to have these orbs that Ryu's gonna find out controls gravity. During this fight, we see Mitsuki's reaction to her power that she's showing. Mitsuki, Arya, and Yodo are out of sort of the field radius for her ability, which her ability works in this set range, sort of like a domain or like an area of effect, a radius perhaps, where she's able to control gravity within that range. So Mitsuki and friends are not affected by this effect. And Mitsuki points out this observation in the chapter. At this point, Ryu figures out that he's cooked, and Sarada appears, she forms a black hole behind Ryu, which sucks him to the black sphere. While he's on this black sphere, he noticed that he can't move a single finger to be able to use his claw marks and his claw grimes to teleport away. At this point, Sarada is yapping, monologuing to this man's face as she's about to obliterate him. She's talking about how she used to not have this power and she wanted to be Hokage, and that's what kind of held her back from her dreams of her not having this power and her wanting to protect everybody. And Ryu's pissing his pants right now. Ryu is telling Sarada to, hey, shut up, you crazy monster. And at this point, Ryu's on this black sphere. He can't move. She's controlling his gravity. And she just decides to atomize this person. I'm talking about his bits are shattered particles on the panel. She just disintegrates, evaporizes this man, splits him apart. I failed to mention that with her power of being able to control gravity in the set domain, she's also able to control her own gravity, essentially giving her the ability to fly or levitate. So after she completely disrespects this Shinju clone of Shinki, she's exerted a lot of chakra and she passes out while levitating in the air. Mitsuki comes and grabs her, and off screen we see a conversation with Kashin Kojin and Ada. In this conversation we see that Ada and Kashin Kojin is talking telepathically, and they're addressing what is happening in real time so Kashin Kojin can receive the information and compare it to the different possible futures that he's able to see with his future sight. Boruto at this point is eagerly sitting there waiting as his team is in this mission that is do or die at this point. And he's asking Kashin Kojin what's happening. Kashin Kojin replies and tells him the information that's happening on the battlefield. He tells him that Sarada Uchiha was able to awaken her Mangekyo Sharingan through Yodo dying. Now, Kashin Kojin is able to view this as a sacrifice because he is able to see all the futures with his future sight, and he knows what patterns need to happen in order for something beneficial to happen in his eyes. So that means that he knows what bad needs to happen in order to bring about some good. He knows what good that needs to happen to bring about bad. And this is a moral dilemma that Boruto is facing with his team up of Kashin Kojin. He then asks Kashin Kojin what are the chances of his former master, Konohamaru, surviving. Kashin Kojin in this instance replies with nothing. He says nothing. He says no words. So that gives Boruto all the information that he needs to be able to impede on this mission. Now, previous chapters have stated that if Boruto was to impede on this mission, Jura is gonna teleport to his location and kill him instantly, or at least fight him until he's dead. So this moral dilemma is what prompts Boruto to attempt to save his master Konohamaru. So he's going to teleport instantly to the battlefield where Konohamaru is currently fighting Matsuri, which is evil Ten Tails Moegi from part 1 Naruto and to where we are now. So what Boruto does to save his master Konohamaru is he throws a shuriken marked with flying Raijin at Matsuri. Well, first he has one of his pins that he has on his button-up t-shirts, his button-up shirt, and he's able to teleport to the battlefield. And then he's able to throw a shuriken that hits Matsuri in her shoulder, or in her sort of ability that she's using. Is kind of weird. She looks funny in this chapter. I'll probably put the panel up, but she hits from like in her like little ability that she's using to be able to still walk around, and he is able to teleport to her and dice her up into perfect little pieces to get cooked on a platter or something, because dang. This chapter then ends with Jura's reaction from the Ten Tails tree dimension, wherever they're sitting at, to Boruto teleporting onto the battlefield, because he's able to sense all of the Senjus, all the Clawgrime Ten Tails clones. He's able to sense what's going on around him, and he senses and sees that Boruto's on the battlefield. And this is where the chapter ends, of him reacting to him being on the battlefield, and he's ready to scrap and fight hands with bruh. Now, I think that this chapter is an above average chapter. It's definitely going to lose points because it's sort of a flashback chapter to stuff I already know, but I understand why they're doing it. It's sort of to build up to her using her power and understanding her true potential and what she needs to do and what she needs to happen for her dream to come true. I'm sure in the anime this will be done in a way more emotional and appealing way, I think. But right here, it's definitely gonna lose some points because this flashback takes up almost half of the chapter. So that's a half of a chapter that could be going towards more world building and new lore, even more fights and feats that we could talk about in scale or whatnot. If it wasn't for that, if we took out all the flashback stuff that we as long-term Naruto fans already know, this will be essentially a perfect chapter, I think. But I think this chapter would have to be a 7 out of 10 if I were to give it a rating. Maybe an 8. Now, what makes this chapter a 7 or 8 out of 10 from the good parts? I think that being able to see Sarada Uchiha use her full Mangekyo's power, Sharingan's power in this case, and at this time, is something that fans have been waiting for years to see. And I think that the fact that we were able to see that Boruto isn't just going to sit around and let Kashin Kojin do what he thinks he wants him to do, and to have some heart and some care about the people that he cares for, he loves. That's one big theme in Boruto's love. That he wasn't just going to sit around and let people die. Now, I want to take a moment to talk about Kashin Kojin and how he's one of the most critical components of this whole verse now. He orchestrated this mission in a way that, since he knows all the possible futures, all the possible situations, all the possible outcomes, and he's able to compile all that into one reality that he's making completely unique of all those realities, he's able to compromise and prepare in ways that no other character in the verse can. Kashin Kojin in this instance must have known that Boruto was going to join the fight at one point. At one point in time, Boruto was going to join this fight, and he told Boruto that if he joined this fight, he'll die. me thinking about it now is how much of that is he lying and how much of that is he refraining from or gatekeeping from Boruto to manipulate him to do a certain thing under a set circumstance. When this mission happened, I figured that he sent these people out to be able to get Sarada's Mangekyo Sharingan awakened through some sort of trauma. That means something bad would need to be happen in order for her to be able to unleash her full potential. Telling Boruto not to join this battle or he'll die, maybe he knows that he doesn't want him to join the battle immediately, so he gives these parameters for Boruto to think about. But he knows that Boruto's going to act on something no matter what, because he may know how Boruto's morality compass works. So this gives him time for his plan to develop while Boruto not being present. Now that Boruto sees that his master is about to die and needs his help, or Kashin Kojin just chose not to answer to goad him into joining the fight, he was able to sort of he's able to play like 4D, maybe 5D chess with every single person around him. And that's something that I think is a power that is way too powerful. It's way too sketchy. It's something that a character like that, no way he's gonna be forever a good guy or a bad guy or something like that. It's like he's able to see everything morally, so his morals is gonna be weird, and seeing him in a light like Naruto would not go for a lot of the things that's going on currently with Shikamaru planning to turn their backs on these Shinju, which is something Kashin Kojin has planned and told Shikamaru to do. So there's something bigger that Kashin Kojin is cooking up, and I wonder what will happen in this fight if Jiraiya comes to the battlefield and fights Boruto. Maybe he's trying to extract something out of Boruto in this fight because he's going to be on his deathbed while fighting him. The other thing I want to take time to talk about is Sarada Uchiha. Now, I watched one of my favorite content creators, and he mentioned that Sarada right now is one of the most talented shinobis to ever live at this point. In retrospect and in relative time, she's able to obtain a power that no one else has obtained through pure genetic potential and pure like internal stuff, and she has no external components to her. Like, you go back to think of Sasuke, Naruto had an external component of Kurama planted inside of him, plus his clan's lineage of already having high chakra reserves compounded on something that has high chakra reserves. Naruto was never a shinobi that should have failed on paper. Same thing as Sasuke. And they still had external factors that boosted their abilities. Sarada has none of that. She's purely an Uchiha who awakened her Mangekyo Sharingan through ways that are external, but in a sense of like doping. She's not doping herself to be more than just her normal genetic power. I don't think there's any other shinobi that's obtained this such power through just their base ability. I think of shinobi like the first Hokage. He had Sage Mode. The only person that maybe would do this, I don't know. I just like Tobirama because he's able to develop so many things that's so critical to what we know and love today in the shinobi world. And I think that all of this is thanks to Naruto Uzumaki as a character. What he's done in part 1 Naruto and part 2 Naruto Shippuden was able to mold Sarada and Uchiha into the person that she is today, and her power output that she's able to exert at this point in time. Because Naruto was effectively able to end the cycle of hatred in the Uchiha clan. This is something that Tobirama mentioned in part 2 Naruto, where the cycle of hatred haunted the Uchiha clan for so long, so they've only had one perspective of obtaining great power, and that was through great loss. But Naruto ended that, so he was able to make a product of Sarada Uchiha, someone who's able to unlock her full potential through a different means of love, and that's again another big thing in the Boruto verse versus Naruto part 1's hate of being able to dispel and push through hate. So Sarada has this power of being able to manipulate gravity in the field and through these spheres. And I wonder how this power is truly able to give her this output, because if you look at it on paper, she was facing one other adversary in this point is Ryu, and she's able to control gravity of her jutsu, of his jutsu and his person. Now she's able to manipulate, I think, 4-6 of these spheres. I wonder if that means if she's able to only control 6 different components of a given object's gravity, meaning that if the number of objects that she's trying to convert their gravity exceeds the amount of spheres that she's able to use, will she be able to distort or contort other things of the other object's gravity that's exceeding that number of 6 or 4, or how many spheres she's controlling in that given time? Now, looking at that chapter, there's nothing for me to believe that, but I would think that would be kind of how it works. But if that was the case, that would mean that she would have been only able to control 1 grain of iron sand, unless it's controlled by Ryu's chakra, and everything that's controlled by Ryu's individual chakra counts as one sort of object that she's able to convert or distort. See, a big thing in Naruto is being able to see through deception. That's what makes a ninja. And I think with all things in Naruto, there's something might be hacks, but there's always a great disability or weakness of a jutsu. And I believe that this could be, I'm theorizing that this could be one of the biggest weakness of this ability. I failed to mention her Mangekyo Sharingan ability is named Urahime, which means, I think, Amaterasu, which is, of course, her father's Mangekyo Sharingan ability. There's some religious stuff that lines up these ideals and stuff. Her being like this sun goddess that are able to dispel things using the power of the sun and light and stuff. Now, if this ability is not limited, if Urahime is not limited to the amount of spheres she has as far as manipulating individual chakra, then, or gravity, then her ability would be busted. She will be able to basically control every aspect of gravity around her. thus making physical close quarters attacks futile to her. So maybe something long range, like if Juro were to fight her right now, he could use one of those eye beams. I don't know if she would be able to attack or respond to it fast enough to be able to move her gravity around her, or she could just have a defensive barrier around her where nothing kind of touch her, kind of like an invisible woman or some sort. Now, if I were to put Sarada Uchiha's Urahime Mangekyo Sharingan ability up against Boruto right now, I don't think Boruto has much of an answer for such a jutsu. He wouldn't be able to hit anything close combat, so Uzuhiko's off the table, a Rasengan is off the table, and maybe even his shuriken is off the table. His flying Raijin may be off the table. I think we haven't seen him use any shadow clones, but I think shadow clones is a big sort of counter to be able to somehow off guard her. You would need to off guard her. There's nothing that, if she's able to see the attack and recognize the attack, she can just distort its gravity immediately. But if you flood her point of view with a lot of like a barrage of shurikens, like thinking of this fight up against a Naruto, prime Naruto, he could multiply himself like 5,000 Narutos. Will she be able to distort every 5,000 Naruto's gravity? That may be the case, but if not, then I think that will be something that people should be thinking about in this case. So at the tail end of this video, I would like to talk about some of my predictions for next chapter. I've kind of mentioned it. I think Juro is going to pull up to this fight, and Boruto is going to be able to, Boruto is going to need to almost die. Maybe someone else shows up, maybe a Kawaki. I've heard people talk about maybe Kawaki shows up to help Boruto in this fight if he's able to get any more power, because he's fodder right now. But as far as predictions, this one's kind of hard to predict. I could have predicted this last handful of chapters based off what I knew Kashin Kojin was capable of, but now it's sort of, I'm not sure what's going to happen in these next coming chapters. Maybe Boruto dies in this chapter. I don't think that's likely, but that would be something that's big. But that can't happen. Maybe he unlocks his eye that isn't even canon to the manga. But yeah, a lot of these predictions that I have it's not really predictions, because I can't really say what's gonna happen in this next. We're gonna have to see how this fight's gonna go, and if anyone else is gonna join into this fight, because right now Kashin Kojin plan, air quotes, are going off the rails at this point. So let me know what you think is going to happen in the next further chapters. Let me know how you like how this video was planned up, if you like this long form of content, and let me know if you want to hear anything else Naruto related, Boruto related in the future in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you later.